and let me kill the rest of those guys.
First of all, you're basing this garbage on what you've heard.
Too terrible to describe.
Imagine this. The clock is ticking, and you have only hours left to live. The world knows your name for your heinous crimes. But at this moment, all that matters is your final request. What would you choose to eat, knowing it's the last taste you'll ever experience? From extravagant feasts to downright bizarre choices, the final meals of death row inmates offer a haunting glimpse into their last moments. It's the perfect mix of morbid curiosity and psychological fascination. Like, what do you even order when you're about to face the end? A lavish feast, a childhood favorite, or something so cryptic it leaves everyone scratching their heads? Stick around, because we're about to explore not just the meals but the twisted stories behind them. And spoiler alert, some of these choices are downright chilling. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown.
If they want to be convinced or brainwashed into what they believe, then fine, then go ahead and kill me.
And in essence, he was blackmailing me. Now,
Because I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in...
Let's kick things off with the infamous John Wayne Gacy, the so-called killer clown. Convicted for murdering 33 young men and boys, his crimes were as horrific as they come. But his last meal? It was oddly ordinary. A bucket of KFC fried chicken, a dozen shrimp, French fries, strawberries, and, wait for it, Diet Coke. Seriously, Diet Coke? This choice was a nod to his former life as a manager of 3 KFC restaurants, where he once enjoyed a veneer of normalcy. Even in his final hours, Gacy maintained his chilling composure, expressing no remorse for his victims. His final statement before execution rejected the notion that his death would bring justice, further cementing his lack of empathy. Gacy's choice of a seemingly mundane meal adds an eerie layer to his infamy. Additionally, Gacy's use of his charm to lure victims mirrors the almost banal nature of his last meal. It's this unsettling contrast between ordinary appearances and monstrous deeds that make his story even more terrifying. The meal might seem unremarkable, but in context, it's a chilling reminder of the man behind the mask. Gacy's last meal has become a symbol of his double life. On the surface, an ordinary man, yet beneath, a remorseless killer. It raises questions about how someone so heinous could hide in plain sight for so long, a theme that continues to fascinate criminologists and the public alike.
But vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, because you will have executed somebody that didn't commit the crime.
Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber. Timothy McVeigh, the mastermind behind the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people, opted for a surprisingly simple request: 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Yep, just ice cream. His choice stands out for its simplicity, almost as if he wanted to escape the weight of his crimes, even briefly, by indulging in something sweet. Unlike many others on death row, McVeigh remained composed and unrepentant. His lack of complexity in his last meal mirrored his cold and calculated nature, leaving behind an unsettling legacy. Interestingly, some experts believe McVeigh's meal choice reflects a subconscious longing for comfort or innocence. Ice cream is often associated with childhood and simpler times, creating a stark contrast to the devastating impact of his actions. The absence of elaborate requests underscores the chilling clinical approach he maintained until the very end. McVeigh's final meal serves as a reminder of the complex interplay between public perception and personal choice. While his crimes evoke horror, his simple meal sparks curiosity about what he sought in those final hours: solace, nostalgia, or merely sustenance. Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the Holocaust now, Adolf Eichmann, a name synonymous with pure evil. As one of the key figures behind the Holocaust, he coordinated the deportation of millions of Jews to concentration camps. For his last meal, Eichmann kept it humble with Israeli prison food: cheese, bread, olives, tea, and a bottle of Carmel, a red wine. He only drank half before meeting his fate. Eichmann's choice of a modest, culturally resonant meal is steeped in irony. The simplicity of his food contrasts sharply with the scale of his monstrous actions. Despite his claims of merely following orders, Eichmann's role in one of history's greatest atrocities remains undeniable. His final moments, marked by a small meal and a glass of wine, symbolize a stark juxtaposition of humanity and inhumanity. Ted Bundy, the charming monster.
What's going through my mind right now is to use gambling. There was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things that I've done.
Ah, Ted Bundy, the man who sent shivers down everyone's spine. Despite being offered a special last meal, Bundy declined. Instead, he ate the standard prison fare: steak, eggs, toast, and coffee. Bundy's decision to refuse a special meal reflects his controlling nature, a last act of defiance in a life marked by manipulation. Known for his charm and cunning, Bundy's end was surprisingly unremarkable. His ordinary meal seemed almost out of place for someone whose crimes were anything but.
Damaging kinds of pornography are those that involve violence, and as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just... And I take full responsibility for whatever I've done and all the things that I've done. I deserve, certainly, the most extreme punishment.
Eileen Wuornos, the highway killer.
Well, I think their whole plan was to try to make it look like I was totally crazy. God is going to be there. Jesus Christ is going to be there. All the angels.
Then there's Eileen Warnos, whose life story is as tragic as it is disturbing. Convicted of killing 6 men, she skipped the fancy dinner and opted for a hamburger and black coffee. Warnos' upbringing was filled with violence, abuse, and neglect, shaping the tragic figure she became. Her choice of a simple meal mirrors her no-nonsense attitude, even in her final hours. Her haunting last words, "I'll be back," continue to evoke chills, leaving an imprint of unresolved anger and defiance.
And, you know, whatever's on the beyond, I think it's going to be more like Star Trek beaming me up into a space vehicle. I know it's going to be good because I didn't do anything as wrong as they said. I did the right thing. And so nobody would believe anything I had to say about anything.
Lawrence Russell Brewer, the meal that changed everything. Brace yourselves because this one's wild. Lawrence Russell Brewer, a white supremacist convicted of a horrific hate crime, ordered a feast so massive it's almost comical. 2 chicken fried steaks, a triple bacon cheeseburger, a meat lover's pizza, a pint of ice cream, and more. The kicker? He didn't eat a single bite. Brewer's extravagant and wasteful request became a public spectacle, sparking outrage. His audacious decision to leave the meal untouched led Texas to abolish special last meal requests altogether. It was a stark reminder of the privileges extended even to those who commit unspeakable acts. James Edward Smith? Dirt? Really? Now let's talk about James Edward Smith, who made perhaps the strangest request of all time. He asked for a lump of dirt. Yep, dirt. Apparently it was for a voodoo ritual. Prison officials denied his request, offering yogurt instead, which he reluctantly accepted. Smith's unusual choice highlights the complex beliefs and rituals that accompany some inmates to their final moments. Whether a genuine act of faith or a cryptic message, his request remains one of the most bizarre on record. Ricky Ray Rector, saving it for later. Ricky Ray Rector's last meal might just break your heart. He ordered steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and pecan pie. But here's the tragic twist. He left the pie untouched, saying he'd save it for later. Rector's story is a profound tragedy. A failed suicide attempt after committing murder left him with significant brain damage, rendering him unable to comprehend his fate. His untouched pie became a poignant symbol of his fractured state of mind. François Mitterrand, the French president. Switching gears to a political figure, François Mitterrand, former president of France, had a last meal that was both extravagant and illegal. He dined on ortolan, a rare and protected bird consumed whole under a napkin. Mitterrand's choice, though indulgent, carried symbolic weight. As the man who abolished the death penalty in France, his illegal last meal was a paradoxical statement on law and morality. The dish's controversial preparation added an air of mystique to his final moments. Gary Gilmore, let's do it. Gary Gilmore's story is legendary for one reason. His last words inspired Nike's iconic slogan, "Just do it." Convicted of murder, Gilmore's last meal was steak, potatoes, coffee, and whiskey smuggled in by family. Gilmore's execution marked the return of the death penalty after a decade-long moratorium, making his case historically significant. His calm demeanor and straightforward final words encapsulated his unyielding personality. The psychology of last meals. So, what's the deal with these last meal requests? Experts say they reveal a lot about a person's state of mind. Some seek comfort in nostalgic foods, others make a statement, and a few, like Brewer, use it to provoke. It's a final act of control in a situation where they have none. The psychology behind these choices provides a glimpse into the inmate's humanity, whether it's seeking solace in familiar tastes or making a final rebellious stand. These meals often serve as a reflection of their lives and personalities. And there you have it, besties, the eerie, fascinating, and downright bizarre world of death row last meals. Each plate tells a story, not just of the crime, but of the human being behind it. It's a chilling reminder of the complexities of justice, morality, and the human psyche. So what would your last meal be? Let's talk about it in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and maybe think twice before ordering that Diet Coke.